Hello, everyone, and welcome to Respawn Aim Fire, our special side quest spoiler chat for The Last of Us Part 2. Before I introduce anyone, and before I say anything else, if you've not played this game, shut up, stop it, stop watching this, go finish this game. Brent, stop it. But we've got an all-star cast here helping us discuss and break down The Last of Us Part 2. We're going to talk about themes, we're going to talk about characters, our favorite moments, what made us cry like a little baby, what made us cry again like a little baby, and then more crying. And that's what we're going to really talk about today, is just crying. But welcome, everyone. We are going to go around and do some introductions for you. You've seen every single one of these people on our content before, but in case you're unfamiliar, let's start with Jerica. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jerica, and I enjoy long walks on the beach and the occasional breakfast burrito. I also have a podcast with my co-host Kayla, and you can find us at JK Games Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
And you guys have
just like
one of
Apple
the best
Podcasts.
intro musics of any podcast. It's phenomenal.
Hype.
Then we've got, from Rhode Island himself, Matt. Say hey.
What's up? Yeah, I'm Matt, so I'm at Matt from RI on Twitter, and this is the first time I've ever been considered part of an all-star of anything, so I appreciate that, Chad. I have a podcast, Average Nobodies. I do it with my buddy Ryan and Adam. We just talk movies, TV shows, a little bit of video games sometimes, but I'm usually the only one that plays them, so that's what I do.
Intro music, not as good.
No, it's not. It's actually nothing. It's not intro music. It's just me. It's my voice.
Podcast.
It's just
quality.
I can hook you
music.
up.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Let's do it.
Dallas, you are next up on our list. Tell everyone about you and your post. I'm not even going to say you pooped, because I don't want to let the people in on your personal life. So just tell the people about
Yeah, they don't
your
need to know that we're late because I just had to take a dump. So, yeah. I'm Dallas. I don't have a podcast, so I just play games, and I love them.
Awesome. And he's great. He's the best. He's the best dad in the world. All right, everyone. Last but certainly not least, we've got our friends from Nerds Nerds plural, at large, Jeff and Darby. You can choose which order you want, but it has to be Jeff first.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm Jeff. Like Chad said, from Nerds at Large. If you're watching the video, I like plushies. That's Jeff's thing. Yep. He's about all mine. And I'm Darby. I'm also from Nerds at Large. I was an All-Stars in Little League one year, so I'm pretty familiar with being an All-Star. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for being here. We're going to have a rousing discussion. There's not really a great place to jump in and start, other than let's start by just saying, do you recommend the game to people? Like, on a yes or no. Can you give a thumbs up? Thumbs up if you recommend it, thumbs down if you don't recommend it.
2 thumbs
It looks like everyone has their thumbs up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. That has been The Last of Us 2 spoiler discussion. Everyone go play the game.
Very nice.
No, I actually wanted to start the discussion, whoever wants to jump in first, with do you prefer Ellie's section of the game or do you prefer Abby's section, and why?
I'll jump in first. I definitely, this is easy for me, I definitely prefer Abby's section. Not even going into the implications behind their motivations and all of that. I just feel like her skill set that you can upgrade, it just fits my play style more. It was more aggressive. I'm not a sneaky type player. I like to get out, and like even with Ellie too, I was just like jumping out and fighting, punching, and but with Abby you could do that. You have the pipe bombs, you have like the in your face combat, and she's just a badass. So I think it fit more my play style, and I definitely enjoyed playing more with her section. Definitely.
Because she's jacked and she can do pretty much anything because of that. Yeah. I think I remember the very first time we saw her in the theater. And it was like the first cutscene we had seen her in the future, and it was just like, that's all I could think about the whole time was not, oh my god, everyone's about to die. It was just like, holy shit, look at her arms.
Yeah. She was perfect lighting. She had just come out from the rain. It was just like perfectly she was jacked.
The monster.
And I also agreed with Abby, because also, I mean, the combat is definitely one thing, but from a story perspective, as soon as I realized that's the direction they were going, I thought that was such a ballsy move that could have gone so wrong. And even with Naughty Dog, I was walking into this like, okay, guys, like tread carefully because this is going to be really hard to build Abby up in just this like half of a game. And then by the end of the game, I didn't realize I was feeling that way. But when you got to those final interactions and I was pretty sure someone was going to die, I found myself wanting Abby to be the one surviving. And I'm like, how did I get to this point? This is crazy. I think the game was already great, but that whole Abby section is what made this transcendent, in my opinion.
Jerica, which one did you prefer?
I definitely went back and forth. Of course, playing as my girl Ellie, like I'm so connected to her character and her like having the banter with Dina. Like as a gay woman, it's pretty cool to see in this game, like the main story and all the details they're adding to their relationship. So I was instantly like super connected to what was happening with her. And then the certain events that happened, I was a little, I don't like playing as Abby. But back to, I forgot who said they liked her play style, but she was way more fun to play as. I enjoy playing as Abby more. She won me over though, because I can tell you the banter, I could see like the banter with the companions they had really made my experience. So Lev and those situations that Abby faced, like really like I can't choose. I enjoyed playing both of them. It was tough.
Dallas, you look very thoughtful and contemplative.
I can't really choose. If you put a gun to my head, I think I'd choose Ellie. And mostly, I think both of Jerica's and Matt's points, where Matt's play style suited Abby more. I think Ellie's more my style. I was stealthing around. I love that she had a knife, and I'd have to craft shivs all the time. That was the worst part of the first game, in my opinion. And then the banter that Allie had with Dina, like, and even Jesse, it was just, I loved it. I loved every second of that. But Abby definitely won me over by the end of her gameplay. But I think I'd pick Ellie.
Jeff, do you have a preference?
Not really. I've been trying to obviously listen and think, because I didn't really think about which one I preferred. Kind of like Matt was saying, I generally prefer Abby's playstyle more. While I definitely tried to stealth more, I suck at it. I just suck at playing this game. So it was a lot easier to try to get out of things with Abby. And even from a stealth standpoint, I was so much better with the crossbow than Ellie's regular bow.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yep,
So
definitely.
that made even the stealthing part for me easier. From that standpoint, I probably prefer Abby. From a story standpoint, it's hard because Ellie's story is really good, which, seeing like what she's kind of become through the years and all that, and her flashbacks and all that we saw throughout her story. But just the balls of Naughty Dog to do what they did with Abby is just so interesting that it's kind of hard to compare. And very interesting going through that, knowing the fate of most of the characters and learning the fate of a couple characters. We didn't see, like Manny. He was like one of the ones from the crew we didn't really see during it. It's like, what happens with him? Oh, okay, that's what happens.
That's what happens. That was
Straight up
brutal.
shot in the head.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Phew.
I found myself, I really enjoyed, obviously I'm biased towards Ellie because we had a whole game with her beforehand, and we've seen her and we know her so much more because of her journey with Joel. But I enjoyed the dialogue between her and Dina more than I enjoyed. I enjoyed it from like an entertainment perspective, like running around the world, listening to them talk, made me laugh. All of their kind of conversations together, seeing them like fall in love, more than the weight of the conversations that seemed to happen around Abby's playthrough, with everything of her learning and discovering about the Seraphites with Lev, and kind of transforming from the wolf to be more sympathetic towards the Seraphites. Like that, I feel like was more profound and more meaningful conversations. But obviously, like I was more attracted to the comedic and lighthearted and like lovey kind of stuff. But I feel like every time that I played as Ellie, I hated doing anything she was doing. Like any decision she was making, I wanted her to do the opposite. So much so that I was like literally not pushing the buttons. I was just like, sometimes I would just pause it and be like, stop it, stop stabbing dogs, please. Anything that Ellie was doing, I hated doing.
I mean, it's kind of an entire game full of the end of The Last of Us Part 1, where you have no choice. Like, this is not what you want Joel to be doing, but you kind of understand why he's doing it. And this entire game with Ellie, every single time you just want to grab her and shake her and like, stop this, but you also completely understand why she's doing it. And it's just heart-wrenching.
I think I was telling Chad after I beat the game, I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, a lot of those scenes, like, they need to trademark exhausted play. Naughty Dog is known for exhausted play games. But yeah, I agree with that.
They should put it in the rating.
Exhausted. Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Rated exhausted.
Yeah, I text you guys when I was in the basement of the hospital. I just had enough. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do it. It was just so exhausting.
I think that's one of my favorite things about this game. I think about, as you get towards the end of the game, you literally just don't want to play it anymore. You're ready for it to be done. And I think that's why when you get to the farm for the first time and you see Ellie's life after all of this has happened, and you're like, oh, okay, she's happy, she's got a family, she's raising sheep, and you're just like so ready for it. And then when she goes back out and you realize you have to take control again in Santa Barbara, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play this anymore. And I'm exhausted from the game, but it's brilliant because she's exhausted as well. Like, she can't just finish. She's not done. She's not ready to just leave all of it behind. She's tormented by it. She has to finish it or else she can't find peace. So I think that was really brilliant the way they did that, and it kind of translated to the gameplay as well. And then finally, when you are done with it, you're just, as Jerica said, you're spent. You're exhausted. You're just like, I can't do anything else right now. Unless you're a madman like that, and you immediately just restart it and play it all through again.
Yeah, I mean that, like you were saying, Chad. That last fight scene between Abby and Ellie, and where Lev's in the boat. Like, there was 2 times where I just put the controller down. I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. Don't make me do it. I don't want to be a part of this. And honestly, I really thought that the ending was going to be that Ellie was going to finally do what she came to do, and was it worth it for her? Like, that was going to be the big question. And I am glad that, for me, I'm glad that, Abby and Lev were able to get away, and Ellie kind of left defeated in a certain way. But I mean, there was some scene I just didn't want to do it. I think it first hit me when you're chasing Nora through the hospital, and you get to the end and you finally confront her, and there were some fun scenes of fighting the infected in there and everything, but you get to the end and she's against the doors and she realizes that Ellie isn't infected. She's breathing the spores, and then you get that angle, the down angle, the up angle from Nora's perspective, and you just see the square button pop up, and you're like, oh my God, this is, and it gave me chills, and I remember standing up and being like, no, you can't just make it a cinematic, just do it for me. Don't make me do it, you sick bastards, honestly. So yeah, that was, and by the end, like you said, I just didn't want to do it. I was spent. I was spent. I didn't want to do it.
I think it's a testament to this game that I got to the end, and whenever it was the final battle with Ellie and Abby, I intentionally pressed nothing to let it go, and I knew that there wasn't going to be some, I was trying to get the Ellie doesn't attack ending that I knew didn't exist, but I had to try for it, because if it was there, I had to try to find it. I was like, I don't want to press this button. I do think that that's just a testament to what they did with these characters, and my brain kind of had to make a snap judgment where I'm like, no, just I can't do any of that. And yeah,
I'm curious for anyone, it sounds like a lot of people eventually ended up liking Abby. Some people liked it even better than Ellie. I'm curious what the switching point was, because I know right off the bat, I was in a text chat with Matt and Dallas, and I think it was Dallas said, I feel sick. I can't believe I didn't just let her die and get eaten by the infected. I hate that she survived. Yeah. So, what was the turning point for you? Do you remember a moment in playing as Abby that you're like, oh shit, I think I'm on her side?
For me?
Sure.
It was when you have that flashback with her father and you let the zebra out of the wire, the barbed wire. That's when
100% Dallas, yeah.
They're going to make me love this fucking girl, aren't they? I think I texted you I wanted her to fall off that cliff when she's like shimmying in the beginning with Owen. I was like, I should have just jumped off that fucking cliff. Like, I can't stand this chick. But yeah, once that flashback happened with their father, I was like, they're gonna make me. They did it. They made me love this woman, and I don't want her to die now. Like, it was amazing how they pulled it off. And it wasn't much. I mean, didn't take much. So.
I think that's the most interesting thing, that it didn't take much, and to think about the act that, what she did. Because I thought for a moment, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play as her, but, like, I love this game. I want to see where this goes. How's Naughty Dog going to win me over? And it was little moments like that, flashbacks, and I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing here. And then also, like, I started noticing, like, the things, like, she was scared of, and that made me care about her. Like, her fear of heights. Like, I missed that at the beginning. But if you are playing, you'll notice if you get towards the edge of a cliff, she like just starts shaking. I thought that was so wild. But yeah, when she met Lev, and I forget the chick's name. Yara. It was really interesting. I was wondering how that would turn out between them, and just seeing her lose everything, lose her friends, and finding like her family with those kids, and then Lev and that. So I was just like, well, I feel bad for you. And I like you. I don't want you to go down this path, just like Ellie. So
it was interesting for me. Like, I didn't really need convincing that Joel could be a villain character in a different story for a different person, because I mean, the first Last of Us plays with the preconceived concept of heroes and villains that we have in media, traditionally telling you this person you're playing as is going to be the hero, and then the end of that, kind of jerks the steering wheel. I don't think it jerks it to villain, because I don't think there are heroes and villains in this. It's just Joel is a very gray character, and this takes that idea and runs with it, makes a whole game with it. So I mean, from the time Abby did that scene with Joel, which we definitely have to talk about that scene. I mean, I think it's probably the most impactful scene I've ever seen in a video game. I actually like recoiled with my hands on my head, but like I 100%, even from that moment, even before I knew her motivations, I know who Joel is. We've played a whole game as Joel. Like, it makes sense that he could have harmed someone that would be this out to get him. And the game definitely kind of, you're immediately side with Ellie, but then the game kind of shifts that, and like, you could have had a whole first game about Abby, and if you did, we would all be pulling against. We would all be pulling for her to get revenge on Joel. It's just like, I thought that was really well done, and that's why, like, from the get-go, I knew that like Abby is not going to be a villain. Like, there's going to be more to this. I never expected to play as her for half the game, but
I played The Last of Us 1 a couple months ago just to prepare for this one, and one thing I didn't realize the first time is that, like, that's the end of that game is not the first time that Joel is a quote unquote bad person, or makes a wrong choice. Like, it's littered throughout the entire game. His background is the things that he did after the outbreak. He's not a traditionally good person. So knowing all of that could catch up to him one day, I think by the time we got to him finally dying, I think maybe it was with Matt and Dallas, as soon as you guys we all finally saw Joel die, so we could all three talk about it together. I think the thing I responded with was like, the shitty thing is that I kind of get it. Like, I get it. Like, I understand where Abby's coming from. He slaughtered a ton of people just to save Ellie.
Deserved it, basically.
Yeah, he kind of did, which sucks because I fucking love Joel.
Love him, right?
Yeah.
Well, but what makes you love him? What he did for Ellie, because if you see things through her eyes now that we get in that cutscene from this one, she was upset with him. So like, what? Like, you just loved him because you played as him? Like, it's so weird to. That's another interesting thing I think that Naughty Dog did to us, was they made us love a guy who's just, he's not a good guy, but we all love that guy.
It's interesting how how love plays such a big, like, pivotal thing in this game, because like, I love that he loves her that much. I think that was it. Like, you put yourself in his shoes, and like, can you make that same decision? I couldn't because I'm just not a badass. I'm like, I don't know if I can. I give up. Here, can we compromise here? Let's. I guess that's the reason why I'm just so connected to him. Just you can, especially in this game and the flashbacks, you can see it in his eyes, like how much he cares about her, and it just breaks my heart because he's not a good guy. At the same time,
get really sad in a fucked up way, he kind of, in his last dying breath, saw how much Ellie cared about him as she was screaming over his almost dead body.
After years
Neil
of just being
Druckmann,
uncertain where they stand in their relationship, to finally see that no, she does love him, she does care about him, and want him to live. And oh god, that seeing what I love about this game is that already was a rough moment for me, watching him die and seeing her yell out. But then as you go through the game, seeing the conversation flashbacks to where there's a moment where they're fighting in or where they're in the barn and they're all dancing and then Joel comes and she yells at him and she says, I wrote it down, hold on, she's like, I don't need your fucking help, Joel. And
the look of disappointment on his face.
Right? Yeah. And when in my brain I was putting the timeline together, I was like, shit, is that the last thing that she said to him before he died? And is that what she's so guilt-stricken over? And I started just bawling right there. I was like, I get it.
Actually, they show us what the last thing Ellie actually says to him. It's like, I guess the last spoken dialogue is what the show is after that party where Ellie pretty much says, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'll at least try.
Yeah.
And that's like the last.
The pause between those two thoughts, too. It was like, I don't know if I can forgive you for that. And then I was like, fuck. And then I started crying there. And then she says, but I'd like to try. And I was like, oh my God.
And then you started crying again.
I'm crying for a completely different reason.
And he's crying. I'm crying. And everybody's fucking crying.
I honestly can't think of anything I've ever watched, read, really, that used flashbacks so well. Insanely well, to where it's almost like usually you can sort of see what's happening, but they were just strategic. I didn't even think we were going to get the scene with the dance. I was like, where is this? Does it exist?
Yeah.
So when to see it finally happen near the end of the game, the very end, and that was like the moment before everything happened. That was pretty surprising.
And it has a completely different, it has a completely different feeling where it was placed than when we watched it at E3. It's just the exact same footage, but you feel so differently about it. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of the game.
Gay.
If it was at the beginning of the game, it wouldn't have
to kiss. Yeah, best kiss I've ever seen.
Better than a 6.
Way better.
It's such an interesting point to bring up. The fact, I wanted to talk about the marketing campaign of this game and the trailers that they showed and how those trailers actually ended up being used in the game. Because there was a point at which I was thinking to myself, I literally don't think anything they showed us is in the game. I think they lied to us. I was maybe halfway through the game, I was having this thought. I was like, we know the scene that they showed with Joel talking to Ellie on the bed, and she's like, I'm going to kill all of them. We know that was a lie because Joel's dead. Yeah. And then I was like, I wonder if the barn scene, if we're never going to see that, and it's just referencing something that happens just before the game. And then it even got to the point where seeing the very first thing we saw, the torture scene with what turned out to be Abby being strung up. I thought, oh, maybe that wasn't even something from the game. Maybe that there was a point at which you were reading a note or a series of notes about a family. Where was it? I can't remember where it was, but it was like, hey, we tortured this. Oh, it was walking through the museum at the end of the museum, finding the notes. They're like, oh yeah, we tortured this family, and I thought that was referring to the torture scene that we had seen in the trailers. I was like, I don't think we're going to see any of this. And then to figure out that, most of it's just in the very end of the game almost. In fact, halfway through the game, I went back and was like, I'm just going to rewatch that trailer since I thought it was about that family. And I rewatched the torture scene, and then I recognized Abby, and I was like, I'm not supposed to see this. And I shut it off.
Spoilers!
Yep. I was like, I know I've already seen this, but I shouldn't be watching this. But I'm curious, was that effective for you? Did you like that?
Yeah, because I think I texted you guys right away when Jesse is the one who grabs you from behind when you're in Hillcrest there, I think. You're sneaking through and you jump down and then you get grabbed from behind. And I think in the trailer or in the gameplay demo that they showed, it was Joel, I think, from what I recall. So I'm oh, well, it's going to be Tommy. we're looking for Tommy. He's out here somewhere, so it's gonna be him. But then when it was Jesse, it fucking blew my mind. I was like, oh shit, Jesse. So yeah, it was masterful the way they kind of hid certain things and tricked you into believing certain stuff. So
I'm so glad they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact they hid Abby was so good. I mean, well, like Chad was saying, we did see her in that trailer. We didn't know it was her and all that. But the fact they didn't even mention she was playable, to the point where I saw some reviewers complaining when reviews were coming out. They couldn't talk about some problems because it had to do with like the second half of the game, and they could not say anything about it. But that's obviously because you were playing as Abby there, and I'm so glad Naughty Dog / Sony put that in the reviews, because I did not want that to get out.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that was such a surprise.
That's the bummer about this game, is like, this is the worst possible game to get so many leaks, because this game, like, it would still be good, but you would be missing so much if you had this spoiled, because I had, like, every single session I played had at least one, like, oh shit moment, like, audibly of like, what, I did not predict almost any turn going through this game, which I'm just such a sucker for the kind of subversive, like, telling narratives in a kind of unconventional way. I'm a big sucker for that. And as soon as because I thought the Seattle Day 1 and 2 meant that we were going to get like another state 1 and 2 and then another state 1 and 2, kind of like the first Last of Us. But as soon as you go to Abby and it says Seattle Day 1, I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah, that was a big moment for me too. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna play as Abby now through these 3 days. It's incredible. That was like such a huge moment, and that would have been awful to have been spoiled ahead of time, or have been like given, like, like there's basically two halves to this game, with two different characters. That would have been terrible.
And it totally flipped my emotion. Like, you were at this point with Ellie's story when Abby confronts her, and like, you feel these emotions like, oh my God, what's about to happen? Like, someone's about to die. And then you just go back in time and start playing her character. What a reset emotionally. You're just like, okay, let me get my legs. Like, what's happening?
Well, and can we talk about the fact that this game, more than any other movie, book, game, anything I've played, I honestly believed anybody could die at any time.
Yeah.
Like, anytime there was a gun involved with people, like, even me and Jeff both said, it's kind of crazy in hindsight, but we both were worried when Abby was pointing the gun at Ellie there. I was like, is Abby about to just kill her? And we play as Abby. Like, I was worried for everyone's safety.
Yeah.
Well, there were like only 5 named characters, I think, that survived till the end of the game, or maybe a couple more than that. But once we saw throughout the game, only like 5 lived. Most were killed off at some point.
Yeah,
and so many of them unceremoniously, like, just randomly split-second shot of the head. What?
Oh shit, Jesse. Oh shit, Manny.
Jesse, Manny. Oh my God, dude, terrible.
And to know it was Tommy that shot him too.
I'm sorry, Jeff. That was something that I think really, at the end of the game, kind of, it like terrified me, because I didn't want Ellie to die. In the last fight with Ellie and Abby, I didn't want Ellie to die. So I was telling Matt, like, Matt asked me, he's like, what'd you do? I was like, dude, I fought with all my might, because I was afraid that Ellie was going to die. And when you get to the end of Ellie's 3 days and the gun's pointed on you, what made me want to keep pushing through is to find out, is she going to die right there? Then when you find out she doesn't die, then I'm like, I got to keep pushing through. And I didn't want her to die the whole time. And it was just very stressful the whole time. It's not knowing, because like you were saying, Darby, who knows who is going to die? And it could have been Ellie at any moment, in my opinion. So
my second replay, in that theater, when you first see Abby come into the theater and she shoots Jesse, I didn't notice, like, you don't see Lev at all, right? In that first,
right.
Which I noticed the second time. You don't, like, because obviously later on you see him, he's with Abby because they sneak in together, but they did such a good job of hiding that whole second half, like, narrative, completely shielding it from you. And then that line that Abby delivers is like, I mean, a gut punch. It's like, we let you live and you wasted it, and then cut to black.
Laura Bailey appreciation. We have to.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Just the line and the delivery too. It's incredible. It just was like a straight gut punch, and I was like, oh my God, Ellie, you done fucked up. Like, what are you doing?
Well, and it's so cool because that line means so much different when you hear it a second time when you have gone through Abby's. At first, at that moment, it's kind of like, well, screw you. Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we
right,
did come
right.
back. We came back. You know,
Right.
you can't hold
Why
us
wouldn't
down.
we come back?
When you get to the end, you really are like, Ellie, this didn't have to happen. Like, this whole thing didn't have to happen.
Yeah, and then I was like, when I got to that moment the second time around, when every time you're going through Seattle and Ellie is marking up that map, I'm like, stop marking the map. Stop it. Because Abby's going to find this map and she's going to know exactly where you are. Stop it. Stop marking the map. Stop it.
I think one of the most difficult moments for me to play, and this might have been like the first time where I was like, Nora, yes, I got it. You're sitting there, you have to push the button, and it's tough, but I was able to do it. But the first time that I was like actively no is when you're sneaking into the theater as Abby, and you are, you have to shoot at Ellie. And I literally, I was like, no, I said out loud, I was like, no, I don't want to. And I put my controller
I let Ellie
down.
kill me. I was like, I'm just going to let Ellie kill me at least once here. I'll come back and play it again, but I'm going to die once here. Go ahead,
Like,
shoot.
if they make me kill Ellie, this person that they've made me fall in love with over 30 hours, I'm going to be pissed. I mean, she also has some reasons that she should die, but still, if I have to do it, I'm going to throw it.
Right. I just didn't want her to die in general, so.
What I love about this game is they make you viscerally want to go start arguing for someone, but then someone could immediately turn all those things back for the other person. Like you can make the exact same, but Abby did all of this. And oh, Ellie did this. Joel did this, and this. It's like you feel this attachment to characters, even though, and you kind of like in your head push away the bad things they've done. You know, and it's.
Who is the character that Joel is delivering Ellie to in the first game? What is her name? The one the Firefly who's at the hospital?
Maggie, something like that. Starts with an M.
Marlene.
Yeah.
Another great Jarek, I think you said the use of flashbacks. Another great flashback scene was you have the other side of the conversation with Marlene and Abby's dad and she's fighting for Ellie not to die, obviously, but she understands what needs to be done. And then she's like, you could, because in the first one, you kind of get the thing where you kind of like see her as like a ruthless, like this has to be done for the good of mankind. But really, behind the scenes, she's already gone through this flood of emotions about having to hand this young girl over to be killed essentially for the good of the population. And I thought that was brilliant that they were able to do that because it you get more with Abby's dad, and you also get that other side of Marlene that you didn't get in the first one. I thought that was great. Great character building.
In that moment, too, you also get she asks him, she said, if it was your daughter, would this change your mind? And then to see Abby, this is the first time that we, get somebody saying, yeah, you would, seeing Abby come into the room is like, if it was me, I would want you to do it. This is before we heard Ellie be pissed off about the decision, before we even knew Ellie knew about the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit, that brings so much more to this conversation than we had previously.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, too, because Ellie, like she said, didn't get the opportunity to make that decision. The one that Abby had just said. She didn't get the opportunity to make that because Joel made the decision for her.
And that's what those flashbacks, that's one of the reasons why, obviously, there's good dissent for the game, but when people talk about feeling betrayed, saying that, Joel wasn't a big part of the sequel, he was killed off unceremoniously at the beginning, what the hell? My pushback is always that Joel has fingers all over this game, with the fact that his actions are what caused the whole game, but also those flashbacks are so crucial to the narrative, the actual plot, and to how we feel about all these characters going through. Every time, Joel has a very, very big role in this game through the flashbacks and through his effect on Ellie and everything. I don't think you ever go too long in this game without thinking about Joel and some, and not even just Joel, but just the past in general. The previous game matters a lot for this, for everything happening here. And those flashbacks, just the way they paced out that information, the fact that you don't learn that Ellie knew until you've already played her halfway through, and it kind of shapes the way you think about her whole mission, where it's oh, so she's not completely blind, she knows.
Yeah, before that, I was waiting to it being some kind of drama thing where someone tells her what happened, and that may make her think. But learning that she knows and she's still going on with it is like, okay. She sees it all and then she cares for Joel no matter what, and that's was, I guess, nice to see from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah, I was like you. I was waiting for her to get like to Abby and then someone break the news to her like, dude, you were supposed to save the world and Joel didn't, and then she was gonna have this like, what? But no, to know that she already knew that going into all of this.
Yeah, that was yep. That was crazy.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the themes of this game, and what you got out of it. What's the big idea, the message that you think that this game is really trying to push out to the world?
For me, I think about, even though our lives are not to that extreme, there's clickers not running around. Thank God, yeah. But I do think about it, and with this, it's given me a lens to think when someone's maybe done me wrong, or I am so hard-headed sometimes, me personally, and just seeing someone else's perspective. And have you ever been obsessed with something and you just sort of lose sight of the things that are in front of you, so to speak? I think for me, that was the biggest message of this game, is like through obsession and like anger, and you just don't see what's right in front of you, or like the bigger picture. So that was my biggest takeaway from this game.
Excellent.
Yeah, I something similar as well. I was listening to the kind of funny the games cast I do with Neil Druckmann and with Troy Baker and Ashley, and they were talking about the scene when you do the flashback to see Joel kind of come to Ellie's defense in the barn scene. And I was talking to Chad and Dallas about this earlier. You don't realize this, but that was one of the first like face-to-face, like head-to-head interactions they've had since Ellie went back to Salt Lake City and found out what happened at the hospital. And then they have that, that night they obviously get to have like that. You find out later on they get to have that reconciliation and whatever. But like, I mean, you can't be afraid to tell people how you feel like in the moment, because like the next day you could just have your head bashed in with a golf club, and it's like, it's unfortunate. But like, that was awful to me, and like I definitely relate to that in a lot of areas of my life. But it just was like loud and clear. And then also, of course, like how anger can lead you down paths that like you wouldn't want, and that the person that you're trying to get revenge for wouldn't want you to do either.
And there was another thing in that kind of funny thing that Neil Druckmann said that like really stuck with me. He said like before this game came out, he talked about how the first Last of Us was about love and the second one was about hate. But then on that podcast, he said that's actually bullshit. They're both about love. But part 2 is showing you the kind of sometimes the darker side of love, and what, you having a complete connection to someone can drive you to do terrible things in their name, or to, drive you to defend your own family, to do things that are unconscionable. And I thought that was very interesting, but it's also, this game is not, it's very dark. It's the darkest game I've ever played, but that darkness makes like the scenes with Ellie and Dina, like simple scenes, like especially them at the end in that house. I was about to cry just for like them playing with the baby and everything.
Oh my God.
I did cry multiple times in this game.
Okay.
They were definitely like cottagecore lesbians. They had sheep. That's like me and my girlfriend's dreams. I was just I was like, when she left, I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I was playing through the beginning of the game again today, and when you first get to the area in Seattle where you're looking for the gas, Dina talks about when they go into the bank and they find all that money, and she's like, what would you do with all that money? Ellie asked her, and she's like, I get a big farmhouse. And they got it.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
My first thoughts, like, they got the farm.
I forgot about that.
I was like, where's the clickers? They're coming out of the woods. They're in the barns. Everyone's gonna die here, right? They're gonna eat the baby. Like, what's up?
Good God.
That's all I could think of. I was like, this is not gonna end like this, is it?
A clicker sheep.
Well, when you go in there and it gets all dark, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that was rough. That like PTSD moment was rough. Definitely.
Terrible,
After all, like that great, like the like the golden hour lighting, and it just
Dancing
everything's so
in the
great, and they're
kitchen.
happy dancing in the kitchen. He put on the record and all that, and then
It's beautiful.
yeah, and then the PTSD moment where it's like, what is it? She's like running down the stairs towards the door that was, like an extended staircase, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that from where Joel was killed, and that was awful.
In the interest of maybe saying one thing that's like maybe slightly negative, but I also don't even know what way I would do differently because I do think it fit. I did think that whole section and that whole arc of Ellie being like, I just can't I can't step away from the life. I have to go back, and Dina being like, no, please don't leave. That was one of the first times this game felt very tropey to me. Like that whole like arc and that whole, it's like the cowboy who's leaving and his wife is like, no, if you leave, we're done. Like I just feel like I've seen that type of thing a lot. But at the same time, it did fit. So
And it had a little bit of a different spin to it. It's not the exact same that we've seen before. So speaking of the theme of the game, for me, I obviously don't think this is what they were trying to portray, but for me, it was all about regret. Like I spoke about that last fight with Abby, and I was just terrified that Ellie was going to die alone in that water, failing. Just regretful. She lost everything. She lost Dina. She lost Joel. So to me, it's like I felt like you gotta let go of your regret and not do the things that'll push you to regret things. Like she shouldn't have. Like Tommy came there and was like, you gotta go and get him. We found her. You gotta go get her. You gotta go get her. And like, just. It's almost like she was pressured into it, in my opinion, and she felt like she'd regret it if she didn't go and get him or get her. Yeah. And that's what I was, that's what I came across. Everything, like even Abby. Abby was like, Abby got away because Lev told her like, stop, like you're gonna regret this. In my opinion, what I mean. That's how it all played out for me. So, to me, the theme was mostly just regret.
I don't know if this is I necessarily call it a theme for the entire game, but at least a theme in it, especially towards the end, is maybe forgiveness. And this really just came from me thinking about the ending in those last couple scenes when Ellie let Abby go. And I'm trying to remember the exact order, so if I'm wrong in any of this, someone let me know as far as the order of these scenes/events. When Ellie's trying to drown Abby, you see a flash of Joel with his guitar, which we learn is that last scene, the scene where they last talked to each other. And that's when we mentioned before, Ellie says, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'd like to try. And through this, I don't know if she directly said, but I think it's safe to say Ellie pretty much had the thought of, I can never forgive Abby for what she did and all that. In some way, forgiving Abby and letting her go might be her way of getting closure with Joel, saying, okay, maybe I can forgive Joel for what he did, and kind of gave her more of the idea of understanding of why Joel did what he did because he loved her. And after all that, she's like, I get it. And kind of forgave Abby, and in a way forgave Joel as well.
I think jumping off of that, like that understanding piece, my biggest takeaway from it was all about empathy and understanding those who are against you or who are different than you. And it's all like empathy is all about like trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their situation and where they're coming from. And we're putting ourselves in Abby's shoes, like for an entire half of the game. But I see it all throughout, and even with the war going on between the Seraphites and the wolves, like there was a truce there, and there's something that broke the truce, and neither one of them can really even fucking say what did it. Like nobody knows who started the break of the truce. And if they would just talk to each other and realize it was a big misunderstanding, if they would just like understand, like, why are you angry at us, why are we angry at you, and realize that no, we can coexist peacefully. Or even from Ellie's point of view, understanding everything that, like, why Abby's doing what she's doing and empathizing with it. That's what this all was about to me. And when you lose that sense of empathy, and when you go in blind and you're hasty and you just don't want to understand what the other person is feeling, you lose everything. whether it's everyone that you love in this game, or whether it's your fingers that allow you to play the guitar, like the song that links you back to Joel, and then eventually ended up linking you back to Dina. Like, she's lost everything because of it. And so that's really like the biggest thing that I take away is the importance of empathy and just understanding those that you're fighting with and why.
When I loved the arc of Abby at the start, where she's like, fuck these scars and everything, whatever, all the time, and then to see where she ends up with Lev and her and even me watching it, like, as soon as like Ellie brought out the like knife to Lev, I was like, "Don't you touch that boy!" Like, I swear, I love you, Ellie, but I swear to God, like, this is going too far. I mean, I just love that arc, and I mean that whole wolf seraph like war thing or whatever. That's definitely something that could have felt like underdeveloped, or kind of like this kind of came out of nowhere, like these two factions or whatever. Like, on paper, that sounds like a lot to establish in one, like, really half of the game.
Half a game, yeah.
But I really think they did such a good job. And having Yara and Lev, who again could have been very forgettable characters, but they're honestly probably two of my favorites in that arc.
Lev is awesome.
Yeah. And I think, and Owen with that too, like how Abby kind of keeps going back to
Owen's
after Owen talked
Owen?
about the Owen talked about the scar that he couldn't kill, and that's something you don't even see, but that's just such a vivid picture, and it like matters so much. You even see her talking about it later, and it's just like, yeah, Owen is probably my favorite character in the entire game, which I didn't expect, but yeah, he was.
Yeah, the aquarium, them together at the aquarium's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote down, I was taking notes as I was going through the game, just like things that I loved or things that surprised me. And literally the very first time that we see Abby and Owen talking on the side of the mountain, looking at the camps, like planning how they're going to take care of them, that I wrote down is like, man, everyone in this game is an incredible actor. Even the throwaway characters like Owen, not knowing that the second half of the game is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird, the opening, playing as her, not knowing anything. I wasn't spoiled. I didn't see any of the leaks. I had no idea who this woman was. Obviously we had no idea what they were doing there. And, to go back and play it again today, it's like, it hits, a second playthrough is highly recommended. Like, I don't play games twice. I think the only game I've ever played twice is, like, the original Legend of Zelda. So, like, I'm gonna see this one through. It's not even about the platinum. I want to do it to get the platinum, but I just want to experience that story, knowing what I know, seeing those little things that kind of hint towards stuff that you overlooked without knowing exactly what was going on.
So are we going to chat about like technical achievement in this game at some point? Because what you mentioned, the scene with Owen and Abby when we first were introduced to them and they're talking, looking at the city, and like even thinking about a scene with Ellie from earlier, like her face when she finds out that Mel's pregnant, she's like just disgusted. And like her face just like,
she's like, ugh.
Really? Like she's being sarcastic and angry. Like I've never been able to see those types of emotions from any character in a video game.
Yeah. It's
like,
amazing. It's truly amazing. Yeah.
And that scene with Ellie hearing the joke and, being like, so do you know what, what did he say? Like, what's funny about a clock? What was the clock joke?
It was, what's funny about eating a clock?
I don't know. What's the downfall of eating a clock?
She's like,
it's time consuming.
That look she gives him, like
there's so much nuance in the facial expressions. Like we've hit movie levels. We've just straight up hit like the actual real acting levels.
Even better than like when I think about when CGI or like video games can't really hit that level, it's mostly because of the eyes. Like the eyes in film is so important to conveying the emotion, and there's such subtlety in it, even to the point where like for Pirates of the Caribbean 2, when Bill Nighy was playing Davy Jones, everything about him is CGI except for his eyes. They kept his real eyeballs, and the rest of him is all CGI. And this was the first game I've ever noticed, like, oh my god, the micro movements they're able to track with these actors and convey all of that emotion was incredible, astounding.
Yeah.
And sound design was like one of the biggest things for me, because even freaking 20 hours into this game, I would shoot someone with a shotgun and go, ugh, God, it just still felt visceral and like just unlike any other game, and that never really went away from me. I was like, I'll get used to this eventually. Like I never really felt like I got used to it, you know.
In one of my notes that I took, I put like early on in the game, I wrote that the hand-to-hand combat is so much more rewarding in this one than the first one, and I think they make transitions so smooth between like fighting in an open area, or if you're close to a wall, it'll do an animation where like Abby or Ellie pushes them up against the wall or leans them over a ledge, and you know she stabbed them with the shiver with Ellie's knife. I thought that was. It was incredible. It felt so smooth, and the dodging like didn't feel like wonky. Like it didn't. It felt like I was really like dodging these attacks and then coming back at them. I thought it was tremendous. I thought that was just amazing.
One thing that really stood out to me was, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you vault over something and you kind of your momentum carries into a wall, they like brace themselves against the wall. It's something that I don't think I've ever noticed in a game before. Like, you know, usually your momentum carries you and you just kind of hit the wall, and you know, it just you don't see an animation of them bracing and stuff. It's just like little details like that in this game just immersed me into what I thought was real life, to be honest with you. It's like insane, dude.
Yeah.
It's all those contextual animations that are so hard to do. And when they showed off the gameplay trailer for the first time, when you're like fighting through the Seraphites, that was the thing that surprised me most watching that gameplay. It was like, is that a scripted section where she's like going under the car, and is that scripted when they're like fighting over the shelf? But it turned out that no, it's just all really brilliantly done contextual animations depending on where you are, because you can see stuff like even in the very first Uncharted when you're going in the submarine, like as you're walking through a door, he'll put his hand up on it like to kind of pass through it. But that's stuff that has to be scripted. To have this big open area where you can literally do anything is mind-blowing.
Amazing. Yeah, it's insane.
And then another like
future is bright.
Yeah, another like impossible to do in video games kind of thing that I thought was really, really great, and they flaunted it a lot, was taking off and putting on clothing.
Absolutely. Insane.
Like,
it's literally like impossible up until this game came out to show someone taking off a shirt or putting on a shirt in a video game.
It's
just because
wild.
Polygons and the way that it all moves. But then in this game, you see so many people putting on jackets and like, why don't you tend to my wounds? I'm just going to take off my shirt. We're going to do it really slowly, and you're going to see it the whole time.
Yeah. It showed it off.
Yep.
So, I mean, what did y'all think about the... I feel like we've talked a lot about like the combat and now the story, now the technical stuff. What did y'all think about the combat of this one versus the original? Because I mean, I definitely think like it's not. I don't think the changes are like the most flashy, crazy changes that you can like put on the back of the box. But even though you're doing a lot of the same things you did in the original one, it feels so much more open in every like combat encounter, especially because like. I don't think you could go prone in the original one.
No,
I might be wrong, but like that was huge to me. Being able to run and like dive down behind some cover or something, like it just felt like if I wanted to do something, I could do it in combat. It definitely was like the least video gamey combat I think I've maybe ever felt, because I just felt in control of everything. And
I love when you were playing as Ellie. I love this and I hate this, but the addition of the dogs. Like, that was literally one of the worst things in this game was killing dogs. But it forces you to then take everything you've been playing, the style you've been playing with up until this point, and be like, fuck, it doesn't matter because he can smell me. So I have to keep moving, or I have to take out this dog immediately. But there's 5 more dogs waiting around the corner. So they took all of that and just, like, added a whole level of anxiety to it.
Traps.
You're right. I never used traps.
I
should have fucking used traps. Instead, I was just macheteing dogs in the back and crying.
No, but I was with you, Chad, on the traps. As soon as I found out I couldn't throw the traps, I was like, these are useless to me.
Yeah.
They're not useless if the dog is tracking your smell. You just put it where your trail, and they just
definitely.
I think I
go
only
and
used the
smell a
traps
trap,
twice.
and they blow up.
I think I only used the traps twice, and both times they completely saved my ass and got me out of a terrible situation. But then for some reason, I just like never ever used them again. Cause
I didn't use them much because I usually was more stealthy than not. But like, if there was dogs, I usually used them because I thought it was the best way to kill them.
I realized how useful the traps were when I was fighting Ellie. as Abby the first time.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
I was
a
like,
section
she
that I
would
failed
set
a lot.
those
I don't think I
bitches
had the
up so
resources.
fast. I'd be walking around, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get you, and then just explosion. I'm like, oh. I was like, oh, these
must
are
have
really
been me.
good.
That must
The
have been me
second
playing
time
this.
around, I used those traps to my advantage when I don't know what part of through Seattle when you're climbing through, but there's a scene when you're in like a storefront and there's a door, and the door you go up to the door to open it, and it gets kicked through by one of the big Seraphites with a huge hammer, the huge pickaxe,
Yep.
and I just littered the outside. So as soon as he came through, like Ellie gets pushed out of the way, and it like doesn't take much damage from the traps, but he just gets blown sky high. It was perfect. I was like, oh no, not this time.
That's awesome.
But another thing I kind of loved about the combat in this is that like it I feel like a lot of times normally in a video game you walk into an area and it's like, okay, I need to kill everyone in this area to keep going. This is a game where I felt no guilt at all about like finding my way through and just leaving, because it's like I felt like I did something, like I actually outsmarted them and like snuck my way through and left. And like I found myself almost like role playing more than I normally do, because I'm like, yeah, if Ellie was coming in here, she wouldn't care about like if she could get through, she would just get the fuck through, because you're a human being. And like
Major point there, yeah.
yeah, I never felt any guilt at all. Usually I felt accomplished. I was like, fuck yeah, I got through them.
Or if you get caught in a very shitty situation, you just run to the door.
But I also want
Trying to run past everyone. I did that more than a couple times.
I love the amount of combat encounters that I walked into it and I'm like, okay, there's 19 dudes here. Let's see what I have. Oh, I have a bottle. I have one bottle and no ammo. Well, let's see how this goes. But those were some of my favorite combat encounters where it's like, time to wing it. You just have to like, you desperately try to kill someone. It's like, do you have ammo? No, you don't. Fuck. It's like, that's the next one.
Do better.
I actually really liked the ability in this one that you could craft ammo for a lot of guns and a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
Because that added that
The
complexity.
bows.
Like, do I form a bomb or do I make 3 bullets for my handgun?
Right.
Rather than just like Molotov versus health kit. And it got you out of those.
Pistol.
some
I
of those
love
situations.
that gun so
That
much.
gun was sick.
God, I
Me
love
too.
that gun. Yeah.
I mostly stayed with the stealthy weapons. I was mostly a bow or a crossbow, and a silenced pistol. You know, but that hunting rifle was perfect for any kind of clicker. Like, whew, I think it was a beast.
The hunting pistol with the
Yep.
scope, that was like my
Yeah.
favorite weapon.
It really
what else is
sucked when the bottle for your silencer you wouldn't really notice when it went away.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, haha, get this guy. They didn't like, oh, what? Oh my God.
Just so you
Everybody
sneak
knows.
up and you feel so good about yourself and
Yeah.
you go, bam!
I'm like, dang.
I got Dave.
Another
You got
thing I really
Dave.
loved using, you didn't really get to do this too often, but I did it in the subway scene where you have the people coming after you with the clickers, and then in the very end in the compound in Santa Barbara where you had the
Yeah,
clickers
letting
and the
the
runners
clickers go.
chained up, and I would just like
Yeah.
prone my sneaky little ass over there,
Yeah.
go click, and then just let them run, and the whole the whole compound erupts. Oh, so fucking
Yeah.
It
good.
was awesome.
Yeah, but I did that once. I let him free and then he just came and attacked me immediately.
Oh, really?
I know that happened once or twice with me
You weren't
too. I'm like, well,
stealthy enough.
dang.
Yeah, when you're chasing down Nora, right, Chad? I think that's that scene, right? When you're going through, or maybe it was something different. But yeah, I was just like, and brick, and I just threw the brick, and then everybody just like clashed in front of me, and it was perfect. And I just hid and watched everything happen.
Yeah, I was in the subway. It was when it was like bright red in the subway, and I was
right.
there was a
yeah.
clicker
yeah.
coming at me,
Confused.
and I was like, damn it. And I could see the people on the other side, so I was trying to be sneaky, and then the other people saw me, but the clicker was still behind me, and I started running, and you could see them look at me and point their guns, and then they see the clicker, and they turn around and start running too, and then we're all running in a crowd together away from the clicker, and then I finally just hid in a car, and then the clicker ate them all to death.
We were talking about how, like, you know, the war with the Seraphites and the wolves, like, on paper, it might seem like too much for the game, but, you know, too much to tell in the span of this story that already has so much in it. But, you know, one of the reasons why it works so well is that Naughty Dog does this thing where they leave these, you know, the artifacts everywhere, where you pick up a piece of paper and you read and you see these, you know, these paintings on the wall of the you know, the person that the Seraphites pray to, and all of that. So it adds so much to the game. So I want to ask everybody, what was your favorite thing you like came across, like, in the world, like, as you were going through and like hunting things down. I have one. I think I already talked about
I
it
feel
with
like
Chad,
a lot of
but-
us probably could have the same one.
Mine's definitely the. I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but it's probably the most emotional, impactful thing was the father in the aquarium in the chair, the dead father. That I hope I don't find
Yeah,
you sitting
that
in this
was-
fucking chair.
Fucking
sticks
asshole
with me.
kids.
Yeah, I know. Such dicks.
I have one. I actually took a screenshot of it. It's a page that you find from a kid's book, and it says it's a horse talking to a rabbit, and the horse
Yes.
the horse says, "Real isn't how you're made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. "When you're real, you don't mind being hurt." I
That
love
was
that
it.
one.
That's so good.
So good.
So good. I came across in one of the apartments. You come across someone had got up and left a D&D game, just like playing,
Yeah.
playing, which I loved. And then you go into the other room and you can see whoever this person was. They
Painting the
were
figures.
painting minifigures, and then you
Yeah.
go up on the roof and they have the archery thing set up. And one of the archeries above it says crit, and it has like an arrow pointing to the head. I thought that was so good.
Yeah, that was
Nice. Nice.
Honorable mention for the note that looks like 9-year-old Jerica drew it with boobs and penises.
yeah,
Yeah. That
that's a
was
good one too.
was that out of my notebook? It may have been.
Hey, can we have a quick shout out for Employee of the Month dog? I'm
Yeah,
very
that's
proud.
great.
The good
Very, very
boy.
proud.
I love how that was a puzzle where it's like, oh, the combination for the safe is the my good boy one
Yeah,
employee of the
one
month.
employee of the month. That's another thing. The safe, the way they went about, getting the combinations of the safes were fucking awesome.
That was fun.
The
There's one
combinations.
thing- I don't think,
Yeah,
Naughty
go ahead.
Dog understands how safes work. It's actually
Yeah, right?
like putting a combination.
Here's that code for that safe. That's right over there.
I found it fascinating that you were able to, like, you could find the code, and it usually wasn't too hard. It was within the area you were in, or you had to look on one of your artifacts you had, but also you could crack it by listening to the
Yeah.
safe.
Could
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
I didn't
Heard
know
about that recently and I had no idea.
Yeah,
It's tough, though.
Yeah, I found out
I mean,
about
you
that.
gotta
It
go
is
through.
tough. Yeah, right. You gotta go through all of them.
But
and
that's
then also,
nowhere
yes.
near as satisfying as like reading a note that says, "By the way, the safe
No.
is Christy's number," and the last two is like, "If you need the last two
Oh,
digits,"
that was the best one.
and then you go in the wall and it's like, "For a good time, call Christy," and it has her number. Yeah, great.
There was one safe that I cracked without even knowing the code. I forgot. There was something sprawled on the wall somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, that must be the safe." So I found the safe without having the note to tell me what it was. I don't know. It might have been the calendar one. I don't remember. But there was one. Yeah, I think it was the anniversary one. No, because I don't know. There was one that I remember getting to the safe and was like, "Oh shit, I saw something. This is probably the code." And then I found the note later saying, "This is the code."
yeah.
People should probably stop having the combination to their safes on their walls, like
So close,
3
yeah.
feet away from
In
their
the
safe.
drawer.
See, that's probably not.
It's in the nightstand. Don't worry about it.
And then
Nobody
a
will
note
look
telling you exactly where to find it.
and what's in it. Yeah, there's some guns in there if you need them.
All safes happen to have ammo in it. It's just,
Gotta lock it up.
Seattle was a rough place, Jeff,
Yeah.
in 2013. Apparently,
ammo and self-help books.
Yeah, and pills. Some pills.
lots of
Lots of
pills.
pills.
Lots of pills are
Abby
good.
didn't need any more supplements. She had enough.
You see that training facility she had at the stadium?
Yeah,
That's
now
another
we
thing
know
that
why
blew
she's
my
jacked.
mind.
Yeah.
Just the scope
Yeah.
of even Jackson. Like when you come over that hill at the beginning, you see like the scope of the city, and
yeah.
I'm like, this is so
Yeah.
cool. Like I just want to explore every inch of this fucking place. And then
Well,
going through the stadium, and they mentioned how they were moving Mel to like a different section and shit, dude. I was like, oh.
Yeah, with the
and then you go to
families.
the dog cages and stuff. Like I'm like, it's just incredible how they thought all this stuff, like
dogs.
all these little details, just made that world so real.
yeah, something was so cool about seeing a stadium like converted into this like outpost.
Makeshift
It makes
town.
perfect sense. That would be like prime defensive territory. Like you have this giant structure that you can all put your stuff in and everything. It's just as soon as you turn the corner and looked out there, it's like, oh shit, this is like there's so many like real world areas that like turned into post-apocalyptic areas that was really cool. And I've heard a lot of people say who are from Seattle say that like, oh shit, there's where PAX is. Oh shit, there's where this.
speaking of like making things feel real, I think the one moment in this game that pushes the edge of like almost making it feel unreal to me was the Resident Evil boss in the bottom of the hospital. that
Yeah.
was almost
Yeah.
jump the shark level.
Sue.
That is the thing. I said to Jeff, I said, you know what? Naughty Dog has been so grounded and so real for so long. They've earned a Resident Evil boss. Like, I'll give it to them. You know,
I had no problem with it.
They've earned it. I don't
I was
like it.
just
I don't
stressed.
necessarily love it either, but they've earned it. You know.
I think I heard it go scars.
Definitely. That whole section was just so stressful for me. I had it.
yeah.
I just so like I didn't hate the actual gameplay element of it, and you know the Resident Evil-ish persona of it, but like I just had enough when I was getting down there. It's like I don't want to turn on this generator. I don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to open these doors. Fuck this girl's arm. I'm out of here. Like
I would say the setup for that was really cool though. When you're going down there and she's like, "Oh yeah, like this was ground zero
Yeah,
for
like,
Seattle's
it's
outbreak. No
fucked
one's been
down
down
there."
there." It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, these infected have been like nesting down here for what 30 something years." It's
Yeah.
like or 40 years. It's like, oof, this is gonna be rough.
Then you see the door open and you see the giant like demon fleshy vagina that it birthed from, and then you see the blood
Yeah.
trail going down the hallway.
I'm like, no,
I've
no,
got to
thank
follow
you.
that trail.
Straight up looks like Genova Final Fantasy VII. Like you said, that's definitely the most like
Yeah.
out there Last of
Right.
Us has ever gotten. It's that whole section.
But
My-
just seeing
my
it shed
girlfriend was-
clickers from its body. Oh my god! It's like the worst enemy in this game is just like something that falls off of this thing.
My girlfriend was playing through that section in the hotel, like going down and down, and like it was so
thought
funny
so, too.
because she was like, "Oh my god, this part's been the scariest part!" Like, and I turned around to see where she was at, and I was like, "Oh no, you haven't met Satan yet. You're in hell, but you're not. You haven't met Mr. Satan. Just keep going."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Good God."
Yeah, falling off that bridge.
Whew.
That was like from that point on, I was like, "Fuck this game, dude." You know, like, and it's weird because there was so much. I expected the unexpected, but even the unexpected stuff that I expected was still like blowing my mind. You know, like I didn't expect to fall off that bridge, and then you know, like I didn't. I expected Manning to die. Like I knew he didn't die so far, and then when we run into him again, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna live, but no, he'll probably end up dying, and then you know he just takes a step back, bang, like I'm like, oh shit, like it's just. You know, that's why I didn't know if Ellie was going to die the whole time. Like, that's why I think if I play it now, I'll be able to just relax. I know what's going to happen. I know Ellie's not going to die. I can, you know, just so
I
tense.
played this thing. I went into it thinking Dina was gonna die.
Oh, me too.
I had convinced
The
myself
lesbians
that, like,
never live. They don't. Have you seen movies,
they
TV shows? They
They
always
subverted
die.
to kill your gays. They did.
Thank you. Finally.
I went into this
God.
game. I don't know how I got the idea in my head, but I thought it was like we knew Joel
Me too.
lived, and I thought it was going to be about she falls in love with this girl, and then somebody kills this girl.
Yep.
And it's all about
Kills
so
her,
like
yep.
Because
in
she's
the
wearing her
beginning-
bracelet.
Oh, that's right. She's wearing
that's
her
what I
bracelet.
love,
Yeah.
Like, in the pre-trailers, the fact that she was wearing her bracelet, that's what everyone, myself included, was like, oh, okay, well, Dina's dead, and this is a revenge thing with Dina. As soon as they had that scene where it's like, oh, here's my bracelet or whatever, I was like, oh, look at these clever people.
Yeah, so when I was on when we were on patrol with Ellie and Dina, and they were on horseback, and then the blizzard starts up, and you lose Dina for a little bit, and she's like, Dina, and I was like, oh, it's happening. Fuck, I got so stressed, and then Dina comes out, and then little did I know, 5 minutes later, Joel's gonna have his head bashed in, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? This is what's happening? Blew my mind.
Insane.
Which it was so
Incredible.
cool. I immediately, as soon as that, like, yeah, I mean, we've talked about that scene being so crazy, but I mean, it was the visceral reaction which like got me, and again, probably the most impactful scene I've ever seen in a video game. But as soon as it happened, I'm like, "Fuck yes, let's do this game!" Like, we are like an hour and a half in, and Joel's dead. Where the fuck are we going?
Yeah.
Let's go. And, like, a lot of people, and those people really annoy me, got to that point and was like, "This game sucks. I'm going to go on the internet and talk about how bad it is." I got to that moment and I was like stoked.
Yeah.
I was
In.
like,
I was
"Where?"
in. I was like,
happening
let's
next?
go kill this chick. Let's get
Yeah.
her.
Yep.
I think back to that scene and with I guess the previous trailer with where we saw Joel for the first time, the stair scene. and her scene with her PTSD, and like those stairs on my second playthrough are just like so scary to me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know like how I can't think of a word to describe it. It's just like ugh, like chills me to the bone, like slowly walking down those stairs.
Yeah, I was playing through that today, and my heart was racing. I know what's happening. Like, I know what's going to happen, and I was still so tense. Like, I'm like, oh, like, yeah, it's tough to explain. It's just a feeling that I've never got from playing a video game in my life. Like,
Me neither.
We've talked about a lot of feelings.
Special game.
We've talked about a lot of feelings of like dread and anger and crying, but we haven't talked about like two of the happiest moments that I felt in this entire game, which were her playing Take On Me and then her birthday scene. Like those two,
which you could have missed completely if you didn't explore that store.
I know,
which is insane.
Those were fucking
And
like
the zoo.
The first moment
is definitely
good.
The zoo was great.
The first moment that I heard Joel's voice on her birthday when you're going in the birthday right before she swims and he pushes her in, I was like, my smile was so big and I was starting to tear up just because I was so happy to see them together. And it was that entire hour was one of the best hours I think of my entire life, which is sad for my life, but it's amazing for that game.
But again, this is another strength of what they did with Joel. Joel dying at the beginning of this. I mean, again, Joel's story had kind of been told in a lot of ways, but it made moments like that, like amazing, just me seeing the simplest, like they're actually father and daughter now, and they're not hiding it. They're not embarrassed by it. Like they're just father and daughter. That like that whole like pushing in the lake and everything, and then the zoo. That's the first time where I was like, okay, I got to pause this because I'm crying too much.
The scene in the museum where I thought it was just so funny where she's like guessing, and her first guess is it a dinosaur? And then she's like, it is a dinosaur. I was like, oh my god. And then when they get, I mean, this is why I think in a lot of like Naughty Dog with this game, like the gold standard for cutscenes, like the way they go in and out of them. Number one, number two, when they both climb into the Apollo capsule. And she has the helmet on, and they go through the whole thing where he gives the gift, and he explains, like, it was hard for me to get, whatever, and she puts it on, she puts the helmet on, and then you get, like, you know, she's going through that whole experience of launching, even though she's never seen it before, she doesn't know really what goes on, and then, you know, she's, like, shaking, and you see, like, the lights from the buttons and the switches on her helmet. It's just so good, and, like, for that moment, she's an astronaut, what she's always wanted to be. It was fantastic.
That scene specifically, like, just one of my favorite scenes in any video game of all time. Just had so many emotions. And what did it for me, I'm going to send you guys a picture. You may have noticed it. But in this picture, like, Joel's eyes when he's looking at her are, like, watering. Yeah. They're red, and he's, like, on the verge of crying. And I was just like, oh, my God.
That's what I think was so...
Like, the detail.
That whole scene... was really great because to see Ellie that happy was really awesome. But I think what was more impactful for me was seeing Joel, like the way that he watched her and the enjoyment that he got from it. Like even
his
when
reaction.
You're in the bathroom making faces in the mirror and you can see him in the reflection in the background just leaning against the door frame, just like enjoying it and taking it like, this is my daughter and I'm doing this for her birthday. How much he goes out of his way to get that tape just to have her listen to it in the caps. Like that's what made me bawl like a little baby, and I loved it.
How good is it when she goes into the office and she pretends she's working at the museum and she goes, oh, sorry, the dinosaurs are very busy right now. And then Joel walks in and she goes, oh, hold on, one of the dinosaurs is here.
Oh, my God.
Like, get it? It's an old joke.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Oh, there's another one that she says to Dina when they go to the synagogue. I heard it today. It made me laugh out loud. I forgot what it was. Something about how bad her jokes are, but yeah, there's just those little lines here and there that just really, drive home the emotional connection that the characters have, but also just scoops you right in and just holds you. And you're like, yeah, you're okay. It's okay. Even though there's a clicker out here that wants to bite your neck off, it's okay.
When Dina says,
Dallas,
hey, you want to see something spectacular? And then Ellie says, oh, you're going to point to your face, aren't you? That was one of the first lines that you said together. And I was like, God, they're so perfect at displaying these.
And when she tells the joke about, like, I think the horse is getting sick. you know, what is it? I'm really bad at remembering the jokes. It's a little, the horse, or what's it? Shimmer is getting sick. It's because she's a little horse.
Oh, yeah.
And for a minute there, I thought the horse was really sick. Like, she had me fooled. I was like, oh no, what's wrong with the horse, Dina?
That whole section, that whole section when they're exploring that part of Seattle, I love, like, because you don't have to explore all those buildings. You don't, like you said, Dallas. Like if you don't go in that music store, you miss that whole aha moment. But like it reminded me of from God of War when you're traveling the Lake of Nine and you're in the boat with Atreus and Kratos, and they're telling stories to each other. And then when you get out of the boat, he's like, "Oh, hold on, like we'll save that for later." Same thing happens with Ellie and Dina. You get out of it and you go into a place, and they're like, "Oh, we'll pay," and then they get back on the horse and they pick up like from where they were left. Like it's such a like simple thing to do to build the world into like something truly real, and for you to get like to sink even deeper into like these characters' shoes. It was so great, and I love that. And their banter was great, like you were saying, Jerica. The horse joke was great. That was so funny.
How
It's
good
gonna
was
piss
the
me off.
guitar
I'm gonna have to look up.
The joke. You were the joke.
Yeah, I gotta look up the joke. It's gonna piss me off.
Yeah, just the simplest banter. Like Naughty Dog just knows how to do just character interactions in such a way that feels believable and like never really repeats. And like that, probably my favorite section is that was the whole like semi-open area with Dina and Ellie on the horse, and just like no matter where I rode on that, I never felt like the video game silence. Like, okay, I've exhausted all the dialogue options, and so now I'm going to be riding around in silence. I never really felt like I got there. They were still like coming up, saying new things constantly, and it felt very, very real. Like that was some of my favorite character development with them. Was not in a cutscene. It was as I was riding around on the horse.
How cool were the illustrations on those trading cards that you were collecting?
Oh yeah,
I found those so cool. I took so many screenshots of just like holding the card because I thought the illustrations were so like.
I want to play that
cool.
card game.
Yeah, it looked really. That was a lot of fun collecting those. I think Abby got the short end of the stick for collectibles. Like coins was so boring. I guess it fits her character.
Oh, but
This is
it's
an
so,
excellent coin, man.
like the fact that she doesn't really care about the
it's
coins,
hyped.
but it's because her dad collected them, and then she continued collecting them after he died. That broke my heart.
Yeah. It's just like Ellie gets to collect these cool cards, and
I get Washington State quarter.
Abby's like, I got North Dakota.
Don't have this one.
I want to talk about like where we go from here. Like the end of the game, we see Ellie. She's lost everything. She can no longer play guitar. She leaves it behind. We don't know where. Like, where do you think she's going? What do you think is next in their story? If they're going to have something, or what do you think you want to happen to these characters at the end?
I know we're referencing Kind of Funny a lot, but Christine Steimer on Kind of Funny Spoiler Cast talked about. She pointed out. I think with this ending, you're supposed to kind of take whatever. It's a very ambiguous ending, so whatever you think, you're supposed to kind of like try to think about it. I think it's maybe telling that scene with her talking about forgiving Joel, saying I'm going to try to forgive you, happens like right before she leaves. I think there's reason enough to believe that maybe she's going back to Dina and hoping for forgiveness, hoping to reciprocate. Like she realizes she did. I mean, effectively, Ellie basically, in a much bigger, drawn-out way, did what Joel did in the first game. Like he did something truly terrible for with good intentions, but something truly terrible. And she's done this with Dina, throwing away that life. And I at least like to think that scene is kind of showing that maybe she's going back there, but it's definitely hard to say for sure. But Abby, Neil Druckmann did also confirm, though, at the end there, when you see the boat, that boat is in Catalina. So they made it. They made it to where the Fireflies were. And honestly, him saying that, like, that just made me so happy. I was like, there's some light. Abby made it. I was like, thank God. Because that was another moment. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but that was honestly probably one of the moments that I was really surprised, got me, and I was like really getting teary, was when Abby was on that the radio call. And the person said, "Oh yeah, we're here. We'd love to have you." She's like, "You're gonna have 2 more coming your way." Like I was like, "God," I just started crying.
I thought when they got jumped outside that it was someone setting them up.
Someone
when they
was listening
leave
to the
that
call
house, I was like,
and
yeah, like they're like, yeah, come on, head over, and it was them who, because if they've been in that area, maybe they knew that, they put those notes there. That was just my deviousness. I'm like, oh, these bastards, scumbags.
I think I read some impressions and people talking about this story and stuff, like on Rosetta and stuff. Some people brought that up that they thought it was the Rattlers or whatever they're called that they were talking at the other end, but I think I remember hearing this too. Like if you're at the Rattlers headquarters, you kind of listen to what they're saying. They mention, they're just on patrol most of the time, and they might have just happened to got her or implied that it might have actually been a Firefly on the other end of Abby's call.
I think it probably was, especially because they asked who you were, or she mentions that her father was the doctor and whatnot, and they asked about who ran the base there and stuff. So yeah, I mean, but at that instinct when she got out there, she's finally she'll make it. Like yes. And then
I think the whole Rattler thing, you're supposed to feel like as soon as that happened, that was the point where I was about to say like, all right, game, I've been with this ride the whole time, but we're about to go through a whole nother group of shitty cultists or whatever, and our characters are about to go through the mud again. It's like, fuck, I might be done. Like, this is Jesus. I can't take this. But I mean, it makes sense that just because you travel down south doesn't mean that the people are any better. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be people taking advantage of everyone. It makes sense. But like after I was literally sitting there with like fresh tears still in my eyes, and then like boom, punches Lev, and I thought he was dead. And I was about to
I saw blood on the floor, but I guess it was just like a shadow. Or under Lev's head. I was like, oh no.
So the fact that Abby and Lev did get to the Fireflies, I think, is very powerful. I mean, I think it's strong, and that Ellie got them there. I mean, without Ellie, they would have died.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's.
I'm really surprised, sort of, that she didn't go with them. So I felt like ultimately, like Ellie just wanted to save the world. So I don't know. From what I've played and what I know about Ellie, I hope that she's let some things go, but I don't know if she would ever be able to let that go. Like, just knowing that maybe there's no one else that's immune. Like, I don't really know. If there were to ever be another game, like, I just always see that being something. I mean, it's obvious, but like, I don't know.
No, that's not obvious. That's a beautiful point. I didn't even think about it. That makes 100% sense. If maybe she's walking away to say, hey, I'm going to find the Fireflies. I need to do what she says it to Joel. Like, you took that from me. Like, my life had a purpose, and you took that purpose. And now her life has no purpose. She goes back home. There's nobody there. She's by herself. So she walks off, and she goes to find the Fireflies, and maybe somebody's there that can help.
Selfishly, like, no, she's living with Dina. They're feeding the goats, making goat cheese.
Taking care of a kid she has nothing to do with.
I think if she was going to go back there, she would have took some of her stuff. I think. I mean, obviously Neil said that they don't have that vision already, so who knows? It's up to interpretation. But in my opinion, I think she's going off lone. I didn't really think she was going to go find the Fireflies. Maybe that's what she will do. That's an awesome point, but. I don't think she was going back to find Dina. But it does make sense, when she has that flashback about, I'll try to forgive you. Maybe Dina can try to forgive her. Maybe she can work on it. But I don't know. Where is that farmhouse compared to where Jackson is? Do we know that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like to believe that she's on her way back to Dina. Like... Yeah. And there's not much that she doesn't need, like, that she's leaving behind at that house. Like, she can't play the guitar. She's not going to carry a bed on her back. Like, everything else is pretty much just like, I can leave this shit behind. Well, she survived what's in her backpack for years. So.
I want to know how Dina got all the shit out of the house.
Right?
Do they have moving trucks? They just drive a moving truck up there?
Well, Tommy definitely didn't help with his bum leg and his bum face.
The fucking invincible Tommy can never die.
Stupid face.
Shot right in the head.
Get out of here.
That was such a tense moment when he showed up. I'm like, Don't do it, Tommy.
God.
Don't just be here to say hello. Don't be a
Yeah,
dick.
right.
Don't be a fucking dick. And then Dina's like bitching him out on the deck.
Oh,
Like, "Get
that
the
fight
fuck
when
outta
she's
here."
like, when she's yelling at him outside, I just felt like I was in the room. It was
Yep.
so weird.
It's
Yeah.
felt like watching like family members fight or something.
Yeah.
It felt like a very real,
did.
like
Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah.
real.
Well, speaking of Tommy, I'm just kind of curious. When you're playing as Abby and you get to the hero or whatever and that whole sniper segment, how long did it take everyone to realize that was Tommy that was shooting at you?
The very end.
Very
really?
end.
Yeah.
I knew it right away.
I didn't know it. I didn't know it.
Yeah.
Mine was
I
about
was
the very
embarrassed by
end.
how long it took me.
Yeah,
It
me
took me
too.
a second to realize, oh wait, this is Tommy. Like just because of the location, I was like, oh yeah.
It was
Well,
when you were running around the restaurant, like literally right before the reveal. That was when it like smacked me in the face. I'm like, wait a minute, there's no one else around here, and we already did the sniper level earlier. I was like, fuck, this is Tommy. I was like, why did I not figure this out
Yeah,
earlier?
I think for me it was when Manny mentioned he was one guy or whatever, and just he was
Right.
really good. It's
Like,
like
this guy's really good.
there we go.
Well,
So
I put the connection together when you go on the patrol with him, and he
Yeah.
lets you use his sniper. You know, and he's like real protective of the gun.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, like that's his fucking gun. Like it's a sniper. Like, you know, it's got to be Tommy. Like he's out here looking for her anyway. So
Yeah, I'm sure for some people one of the parts was when you get into the parking garage and he shoots a car to bring out the clickers and everything.
yeah,
Because that's a trick that he showed Ellie.
Still didn't get me. I still didn't. I missed it. If it would have been
Yeah.
a snake, it would have bit me.
I'm big
that
dumb
bad
dumb
thing?
here.
I missed that too. Totally missed it.
I have a curse. I like to say, like, I'm always trying to figure out shit. Like I always want to try and spoil shit for myself. Like even when I'm watching a movie with my wife, I'm like, oh, like I like to joke with her that I'm from the future, but only like a minute in the future because I can always guess shit. She's like, how'd you know that? You've seen this? I'm like, nah, I can't just watch the fucking movie. I have to try and figure everything out. It's fucking annoying, to be honest with you.
Oh.
So I wanted to
Dallas, how? Oh,
go for it, Matt. Go for it.
Dallas, how long extra did it take you just for you looking for collectibles? Like checking every corner.
So thank God you guys told me about the scanning thing because my game clock was only 37 hours, which I was surprised by. I don't know what everybody else's was, but I didn't think it was that long. Felt much longer. But I think halfway through the game, you guys told me about the scanning for items thing, and that helped tremendously because I had resource issues. I didn't have resource issues because I used everything. I had resource issues because I needed to collect everything. Like I needed to scavenge for everything. Like, and I wouldn't use anything. I was mostly stealthy. I'd use my bow as much as possible so I could pick my fucking arrow back up. I used my knife because I didn't want to run out of shit. Like it's just, I'm just weird when I play games.
Well, yeah, you'll get to a point where you're in the second playthrough where your life's a lot easier because once you max out on supplements don't show up on the map anymore. And the same thing for the parts for your gun. So you'll rest. You'll be less tense looking for stuff.
Yeah, I got. There's 8 trophies that I didn't get. I missed one safe, and I don't know how many. Do the letters count as artifacts? Are those artifacts?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
So I must have missed a few notes here and there, but I think I missed 2 coins, and I missed 1 trading card, which was at the very beginning in Jackson before I ever started like searching for shit. Like who the fuck would know that one was there? Like if you didn't know that you could scan shit, like
The one right on the billboard,
Isn't
like
it?
around the corner.
yeah,
of
the
the
billboard way off
Yeah.
to the corner. I'm like whatever. So I mean, at that point, you didn't know you were looking for anything.
I bet they
yeah.
hoped that everyone missed that, and that's the one that everyone had to go back and get.
Gotta play it again.
While you're here, you might as well just keep
Play
playing
the whole game. again.
Yeah.
Okay,
your friends.
That's what happened to me.
Yep.
I'm curious with the Last of Us TV show coming up, knowing that it's coming to HBO. It's Neil Druckmann. It's the showrunner from Chernobyl. Like, do you think that it's going to be able to tell this story? I think it's been confirmed that it is like going to try to tell the story of the games. Like, do you think it's going to tell this story? And who would you want to play Joel and Ellie and Abby?
That's a great question. Well, number one, I think that with Neil Druckmann at the helm, I think that it's going to be I have full trust in him. I just want this story to get out to other people in my life that don't play video games. I told you, Chad, that one of the reasons, I mean, I wanted to play the game again, but one of the reasons why I did is because I know the beats, and now I know where to record my screen to save all these like great moments, so I can like rub it in my friends' faces that don't play video games and be like, look at what you're missing. This is a cover of Aha's Take On Me, and it's so emotional, and you probably don't get it, but it's emotional, trust me. So I think it's gonna be great for that, definitely. I still think I have a few friends that I can convert and play to play video games and play this game specifically. I don't know who I would do for casting. I guess come back to me, or I'll try and think about it for a little bit. Does anybody else have any?
Well, I still just I kind of, I mean, that's all the right things. The Neil Druckmann's there, the producer, Chernobyl. All that. I still kind of wish that it was a different story in the universe. I still kind of wish that it wasn't just the same story told again, because I mean, I just worry about it kind of like losing something for at least people who played the games, not being able to like do things, and the fact that these games are already so cinematic. It seems like, I don't know, the first one would be easier. This one would, I feel like, would be hard to convert into a TV show part two in a way. But I mean, yeah, I just like, whenever I heard it, I was really hoping it was like, we're going to learn more about the Fireflies or something. But
I wonder if that's going to be used as a way to sell systems. Like, here's the first season on HBO. If you want to know what happens next, buy a PS5, 60 frames a second, 4K. Last of Us Part 2.
I picked up The Witcher after watching the series. Like, I put that down a long time ago, and I was like, this makes me want to play. So it works. It works.
Both are very good with that. Like, but I mean, obviously that was telling the novels, but I mean, still, it's a similar. It's probably going to be really good. I wish it was like some kind of like gritty anime. Like I'd love an animated like series from this show or this game.
That would be very cool.
Isn't there
it's still gonna be
comic
good.
book?
I'm just a sucker for
the first one, or like a campaign in the first one.
They're great. Yeah, so good.
I think I would love.
It's interesting.
If it's gonna happen, so they have to cast somebody. But I think I would love the girl from Booksmart, the lesbian girl from Booksmart.
Yep.
I think would be a fantastic Ellie. I think she's like 19 or 20 now, but I feel like she could play young enough to be young Ellie, and then also be mature enough to play old Ellie as well.
She could do both.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
I haven't seen it.
Nick Cage is Joel.
Nick Cage is Tommy,
God,
maybe.
no.
For real though.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's Vin Diesel with a wig. It's Joel. That's my pick.
The whole cast is just Vin Diesel.
Ellie Vin Diesel.
I don't know. I mean, that's so tough. Who do you?
Yeah.
There was a thing about Troy Baker telling Josh Brolin that he would be honored if he ever played Joel.
Oh,
I was like, that's a pretty good fit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Maybe. Is he too big of a star to do an HBO show?
I don't know. It's
No, I don't
HBO,
think so.
and TV is having a renaissance. So
Can I pitch you? Can I pitch you on Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson?
God, I wish. I
know.
wish
I would love
because their
Ashley.
performances are perfect.
Yeah.
I can't hear Ashley's voice without thinking of Ellie. And I don't think I can
I
see
listened to that whole kind of
Ellie.
funny podcast. It sounded like Ellie was on the podcast.
It's
And
insane.
Greg actually called her Ellie one time. He's like, "What do you think, Ellie?" I mean, Ashley.
Have you guys watched the Last of Us Live thing that they were talking about?
Yeah.
No.
I watched it today.
It's so
and
good.
It's amazing. Like to watch them just act. You know, I haven't really seen much of Ashley's work, so I don't know how good of an actress she is, but they were. And does Troy have a voice changer when he plays Joel? Like, because when he was on that podcast, he didn't sound like Joel at all. I mean, compared to what Ashley sounds like.
But he's also played the Joker. I mean, the dude.
Yeah,
just
Joker
He
Yeah.
has his range.
He must just change his voice
God.
a little. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like Ellie is basically Ashley Johnson's just normal voice. I mean, it
Right.
works
Yeah,
wonderfully, but
it's perfect. It's perfect for her.
Laura Bailey is the same way. Like, it's funny to think she also voices. I don't know if you've ever seen the animated show Shin-Chan.
No.
No.
Well, look it up. That's Laura Bailey. It's gonna really blow your mind that she's the voice of Abby as well. It's like this like 8-year-old boy living in Japan that farts on people. And then you have Abby.
I didn't realize that Mel was Ashley Birch. I didn't really think it sounded like Ashley Birch.
Yeah,
I realized
I
I
learned
saw that
that
in the credits.
after
I
the fact.
hated Mel. Did anybody else hate Mel? I didn't like her.
She was
I didn't
my least
I didn't
favorite
mind her
character
getting
just because I
stabbed in the
thought she was
throat.
stuck up.
Yeah, she just seemed like a total like. I don't know,
Such
I'm
a
trying to-
drag. Come on,
Yeah,
Mel.
but that totally
Just
then,
let Owen and Ivy bang and get the hell out of the picture, would you?
but that totally then it lends more believability to the fact that Owen felt like he loved Abby, but he had to be with Mel, and Mel's not great. She's a bitch, but she's got my kid in her belly, so gotta stick around.
I did like how
But he was gonna leave her,
there was
wasn't he? He's
definitely
like,
multiple.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk.
There's multiple times where you kind of forget you're playing a zombie game and it feels like you're playing a teen romance novel. And he's like, "Okay, listen, I know this is a fucking mess, but I want to be with you."
We can make this work. We can move to California, me, you, and my pregnant girlfriend. Come on.
Forget the baby. It's fine.
Oh man.
Well, do you guys have any last thoughts you want to throw out there about The Last of Us Part 2? Anything we haven't touched on that you're dying to talk about?
Oh, I'm just interested if I know how Matt and Chad feel about the Final Fantasy VII because we kind of talked a lot about it when we played through it. Do you think this is Game of the Year compared to? I mean, I don't know what else would be in the running right now, but is it better? Did you enjoy? I don't want to say enjoy because you can't really enjoy this game, I guess.
Right,
but,
it's not fun. It is the least fun game I've ever played.
Yes.
Yeah, and compared to Final Fantasy VII, which I had a blast the entire time playing.
I will say my 2 cents and then exit the conversation because I am completely biased. Wrong.
Yep, I know
person to
you
ask,
too,
'cause Final
so-
Fantasy 7 is my favorite game of all time. So
Right?
obviously that's going to be my game of the year. The Last of Us Part 2 is a better game. It's straight up. It is a better game. But obviously, Final Fantasy 7, it's just not a fair fight for me.
Is it a better game or is it a better story?
I mean,
game
at least better.
it's
a better story.
It's very
better technical
definitely more
achievement.
relatable.
If I was talking, I was like being like buttoned up critic, and I'm just talking about like reviewing this critical, like from a like putting all my biases out of the way. I'm like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake has a lot of flaws. I'm playing through it a second time with my sister who knows nothing about Final Fantasy VII, so she's not like obsessed with every little like environment and detail like I was. And as I was playing through it, I was like, yeah, this chapter's kind of filler. And then we get to another point, I was like, yeah, this kind of didn't need to be that. But I realized playing through it a second time just how much there is of that. Whereas I think Last of Us Part 2, I do think it overstays its welcome sometimes, but for the most part, everything in this world was like crucial, and it's just so jam. I mean, like I said, it's a better game, even if I am biased or whatever. I'm sure I'm sure the Final Fantasy 7 is not going to hold over this to you, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. I do love anime bullshit. But I'm there's plenty of that. I don't know. It's going to be hard.
You're going to have to do it on the
Yeah,
Nerds at Large Gaming podcast. Comes out every Monday.
I will. And I'm sure Cyberpunk's going to be in the running and Psychonauts too. But hey, that's time. That's January chess problem.
Okay, fair enough.
Awesome.
Is everyone else Last of Us Part 2 is their game of the year right now?
100% Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless they can combine Animal Crossing with this somehow, where Dina and Ellie are on a farm, they have a house, and they get to visit their neighbors and like collect clothes. That's what I want.
I would
Starting
hate
Let's
with
go.
that game.
Just have 2 people in there and just dress them up as Ellie and Dina.
That's what I need.
There you go.
That's the only way you'd get me to
Yeah.
come back to Animal Crossing, though.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, but you're actually the scars, and you like you sacrifice people and shit.
Chad, how
All
about
right.
how about this gen PlayStation exclusives?
Oh, that's a good question.
I was thinking about this between this and God of War, because God of War right now is my favorite game of all time, period, let alone just PS4. And while I think this one does have an incredible story and technical achievement, I just think that the gameplay of God of War makes it still my favorite game. Last of Us Part 2 is maybe my favorite piece of media of all time. But God of War is my favorite video game, I think.
It was a fun game to play.
Yeah.
God, it was fun.
God of War, yeah.
God of War, it's fun.
This one's definitely over God of War for me. I love God of War to death, but God of War did not make me feel the emotions that I felt here. It made me feel a lot of emotions, but the roller coaster that this game was, It's kind
Yeah.
of the only like similar game that I think. Like, honestly, I think the only 2 games that are above this on my all-time list is Red Dead Redemption 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think
Nailed
those are the only 2 games
nailed
that
it.
are above it.
Dallas loves that.
The only other game that I fucking cried. I mean, I love God of War. God of War was my 2018 game of the year, but I didn't finish Red Dead until after that. So Red Dead is the best game I've ever played. And I cried harder at the ending of that game than I've ever cried in my life. And I have a son, so like I would, being a father and God of War, like that was, I had high emotional connection to that. But still, Red Dead and this, I think, are way more emotional.
Okay, Jeff, note we have Dallas back on for a re-spoiler cast of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay, let's do it.
I'll talk for another freaking 3 hours.
Well, as far as PS4 exclusives go, I'm trying to think through it as far as what would be my favorite before this. I think Last of Us Part 2 is my favorite, but it's probably like Astrobot Rescue Mission because I'm one of those weirdos that had Astrobot above
game.
God of War that year.
It's a great, incredible. Well, what
It's a
about
good ass game, but
It was a good game.
nobody's got any love for Spider-Man? I mean, not love, but like, is Spider-Man up there on anybody's list?
Spider-Man was great. I loved playing. I love the shit out of that game, but I don't think it's on the level of this or God of War, and that's like such a shitty thing to say for such an amazing game. Like
How good is Spider-Man? And
everybody
it's-
played Spider-Man here. Like, can we talk about? Okay, so I mean, the end when you find out that Doc Ock had known that he was Spider-Man all along, and he still didn't care, and he was still trying to kill him. It's like fuck. It's like such a gut punch. Like that was amazing, and like, but it just is not on the same level. Like I think
Well, and
God of War is maybe just a
died. Like that was
smidge.
emotional shit.
Yeah. I mean,
I just feel like this game had about 9 of those moments for
Exactly.
me.
yes.
Ups
And there were no
downs.
times in
Total
Spider-Man
emotion.
where I literally had tears like dripping onto my shirt, like visibly
No,
on
no,
my
for
shirt.
For sure not.
Get the
Yeah.
pictures to prove it.
Because they spared you the Uncle Ben death scene.
Yes.
Spared you.
That's right.
But they give you on
It has to be. It has to be Last of Us 2. I think for me. I mean, it maybe like it's so tough because God of War was such an. I played God of War for the first time this year. I beat it earlier this year, and it was such an amazing experience. Like the combat, and again, like I'm not a sneaky video game player. In Destiny 2, I use a minigun and a chest piece that lets me, so I don't have to reload. I don't even want. I'm so lazy. I don't even want to reload my guns. I just want to shoot until the clip is empty. So like God of War, throwing around my Leviathan axe and swinging around the Blades of Chaos is like. I mean, it's amazing to me. So, but I mean, it was such a masterpiece. Last of Us Part 2. It just. I mean, it left me with nothing, and then I did it again, and it left me with even less. Oh, man.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for our spoiler discussion. I'm going to make one more round of everybody so you can pimp your stuff, let everyone know where they can find you, follow you, and how they can interact. Jerica, go for it.
Hi, we have me and my co-host Kayla have a great gaming podcast, JK Games. Jerica, Kayla, get it? JK Games. We're so clever. Good God. So yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at JK Games Podcast. Also on Instagram, we are very lively on there because I guess that's where the kids are at. I don't know. But yeah, at JK Games Podcast on Instagram as well.
Matt, where people find you?
You can find me at Matt from RI on Twitter. That's probably the best place to find all the stuff that I do, which is basically just talk with you guys, talk with everybody that's on this Skype. So, I mean, we can all just talk to each other and it'll be great. But also, Average Nobodies is a podcast that I do with a few other of my friends. It's not video game centric, but it's still a lot of fun, and we try and keep it light and fun. So, check us out everywhere where you find podcasts.
Dallas.
Me? Oh, all right. You can find me on Twitter at what is it, Dad?
What is it? D-Smitty Games now on Twitter.
Sorry.
Yay!
I don't have a podcast, but I am like the what is it? The always the bridesmaid, never the bride, or whatever it is. I'm just always a guest. Always a guest, never a host. So can't find me anywhere else but on it as a guest.
I love it. Jeff.
You can find me and this boy right here at Nerds at Large. Is it Nerds at Large on Twitter? Right?
Yep.
Nerds at Large Gaming.
There's nerds at large. No underscores here.
No. Nerds at Large on YouTube, on podcast services and all that. We got a gaming podcast. We got a separate spoiler cast feed.
Yeah.
Bunch of fun stuff.
We do a bunch of gameplay stuff on YouTube. We have like a new series where me and Jeff go back and forth, just challenging each other to a new video game every week. Like the loser has the challenge, and it's pretty fun and wacky. And we have twitch.tv/Nerds Gaming, where we like do reactions and other streams. We're streaming Super Mario RPG right now, Chad.
Yes, that
We've
game's
been
dope.
We're very close to the end
Yeah,
of it.
we've been very slow about it, but yeah, we're getting close.
But we're getting there. It's a real good game. So yeah, check us out. And Nerds Always Gaming podcast posts every Monday, where we will certainly probably do a whole nother Last of Us spoiler cast. It's really a good time.
I love it. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you've played the game. Go ahead and post your favorite parts in a spoiler-free area, or in a spoiler-contained zone, which would be like the comments of a spoiler video, or like in a DM. But don't you dare tweet at us and ruin this for anyone else. Thanks so much. We'll see you for our regular episode later this weekend. Bye.